Welcome to Everyday Ethics. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz, joined by Persephone, still loving the super chats and super stickers if you are feeling generous. And, I tried to help out today to try to find some topics for discussion. I asked Claude to give me some ethical dilemmas. Persephone didn't like them. So then I asked Chat GPT to give me some more difficult ethical dilemmas, and Persephone seems to be making fun of me of that for that also. So please remember that we really enjoy your questions when you come, because initially the idea that I had for this show was that the audience would be bringing questions and dilemmas and topics. So if you have any, please bring them. If not, Persephone, can you please send this to Mr. Pellegrino from X so that he can share it? Because I do not have my phone with me at the moment. Without further ado, I'll give it to Persephone and she can proceed to mock me.
So if you have a question and it's too long to put in the YouTube chat, because I know the chat, like it does limit the length of the messages, you can go to the website and there is a form that you can submit and you can ask your questions there where there is more space for you to do so. So the reason that I didn't like the ChatGPT and the Claude questions is because when I look at them, I'm like, these have such obvious answers, but also I think you might hate them as well because some of these are the lifeboat scenarios,
Okay,
right?
don't give me anything from Claude. Just give the Chat GPT ones.
Okay, so I'm gonna hop around. So you're in a survival
Please
situation.
just give me the questions. Don't You can hop around in your own time.
You're in a survival situation where cooperation increases everyone's odds, but one member is significantly weaker and reduces the overall chances. What do you do?
What do you mean?
That's that's the question. So the conflict is the objectivist rejection of altruistic sacrifice, but long-term rationality favors cooperation. So what do you do in this situation? Do you leave that person to starve?
Is he a net benefit to me?
Significantly weaker and reduces overall chances. So having this person and looking after this person significantly reduces your chances of being alive, of like surviving this survival situation.
Huh. That's an interesting question. So, if we keep him around, I increase my chances of death.
Yes.
Well,
A
then I'm
stra-
not
the,
helping
the,
this
ex-
guy.
the example says a stranded group must ration food, but one person contributes little
Oh
and
my God!
consumes more
I
than.
asked you for the example. You said that's all there is. I wanted
Michael,
more
Michael,
context.
Michael, you didn't. This isn't live on X, by the way.
Oh, all right. I screwed up.
Nicole says it sounds like a Gilligan's Island situation. Yeah, it does. Okay, given that detail,
I'm sad it's not live on X.
I mean,
Okay,
just
give me
make
the
it.
whole example and don't worry about it. Can you do it to X?
No.
All right. Well, let me. I'm gonna try and see what I get. So give me the
So
whole.
this
Give me the.
the, this here's the whole. I'm going to read the whole thing to you.
All right.
You're in a survival situation where cooperation increases everyone's odds, but one member is significantly weaker and reduces overall chances. Example, a stranded group must ration food. One person contributes little and consumes more than they produce. The conflict, objectivist rejection of altruistic sacrifice, but long term rationality may favor cooperation or compassion.
Well, if long-term rationality favors cooperation with this guy, then it's not altruistic. Do you understand? So
I do.
so if the situation is where this guy is really going to screw us, I'm not, especially in a situation like that. And I mean the thing is you also don't know your relationship with this guy. You know what I mean? Like if this is a friend of mine, I'd be far more apt to risk for him than I would if it weren't. And also, is this person willing to try? Is he, or is it, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of things that matter. Push comes to shove. If the question is it my life or his, this guy's got to go.
So Danny says liabilities are not acceptable in a survival situation. So what I'm understanding from this, right? If you're in a survival situation, there's a chance that if you're like, oh, well, we should just kill this guy or we should just leave him behind, then all of the other people in your group are going to turn on you. And
Right.
that's not rational. So even if it
Right.
would be the rational choice to let this dude starve, it because it increases your odds. It also increases the odds that the rest of the group is going to turn on you.
Right. And how much do I want to sit around giving these people an ethical treatise on how it's, so once it says long-term rationality, if long-term rationality, then I would allow the guy and give him whatever he needs. But if it comes down to me or this guy who's going to
Choosing
die
me.
and I don't know this person, yeah, I'm living.
So here's one that I like more. You're a doctor treating a patient whose will to live is fragile. Full
Yeah.
disclosure may cause them to give up and die sooner. The conflict. The objectivist stance is that reality must not be faked, but your goal is preserving life. Do you fully disclose this person's like situation to him?
My goals are hierarchical, and my primary goal is staying in reality and being realistic. And I also have no right to deceive this person. There's not, the person has a right to know what the odds are facing him. I don't have the right to. And I don't even think medically, like I don't think that a doctor has the medical ethics would allow him to do that, to lie in that
No, you
situation.
have to fully
Yeah.
disclose. Which kind of sucks because I know this has sort of happened in my life personally, where the person really like had zero will to live, and he was diagnosed with cancer, and they were like, no, you'll be fine, like with chemo you'll be 100% fine, and he just had no fight in him whatsoever, and he died like really quickly. Here's another one that has a really obvious answer. You can legally exploit a loophole or someone's ignorance for major personal gain with no risk of punishment. For example, you discover a client misunderstands a contract in a way that benefits you financially. Conflict. Objectivist capitalism is voluntary exchange, but is informed consent required for truly moral trade?
Not necessarily, but in this case, there's a employee. I'm when you have a client, you essentially work for that client. So I'd say that honesty is implicit in that. This is a client of mine. Beyond just keeping my word to that person, my reputation matters. If I want to, I don't want my reputation getting around like, oh, you're screwing the customer. So long term self interest, I think, dictates that I tell the truth.
So in what situation would this be the correct, like would exploiting this misunderstanding on the other person's part, in what situation would that be the ethical choice?
I don't know that it ever would be. I don't want to deal with dupes. I don't want to get over on people. If it's a matter of this person places a certain value on something, like, let's say that I want to buy this pen from you, right? You can't see it, this pen. Let's say that the pen, to me, I know it's worth, right? I know that I can sell this pen for $10 million. You don't know that, and you're selling it for $50 and you're a proprietor. I don't have any obligation to go in and tell you, oh no, you're not selling that pen for the proper amount. You've stated the price. You've put it there. I'll go buy it and then sell it. My knowledge is worth something here.
Yeah. That's something that is really frowned on in in thrifting and that kind of situation. That is so frowned on.
But it would be a reverse if I were selling something, or like, you ever see the show Pawn Stars?
Yes.
People will go in there and not know the value of their stuff sometimes, and he'll tell them, no, this is worth way more than what you think it's worth. In that situation, it's in his interest that people understand that if they go in there, that he's not always going to lowball them. So
Yeah.
honesty is in his interest to be that way, and that is generally the case. Reputation matters.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Your reputation is one of the most valuable things that you have. Um, Here's another one. You possess information that is true and important, but you know that a malicious actor will use it to unjustly harm someone. For example, you're a journalist who uncovers a fact that is accurate, but publishing it will enable a corrupt official to destroy an innocent rival.
I can't even imagine that that would be the case. That because if the
No.
person was innocent, then me publishing it wouldn't harm them. And ultimately, it would depend on what it is, what's happening. But if I'm a journalist, I want to put the truth out there. It depends how important it is. Is it important to me? Is it important to my career? What's the relationship like between these other two? How innocent is the person? So that I don't think I have enough information.
Speaking about the ethics of journalism, can I tell you two stories? One sucks and one is really cute.
Don't tell me it's a lousy story. I mean, if unless it's entertaining or
Uh,
adds value. If it's just a boring story, I don't want to hear it.
it's not a boring story. I don't think. So I don't know if you've ever seen that photo of
Did you
the
share?
star.
Did you send this to Mark, by the way? Because it's on X now.
I don't know if you've ever seen the image of the child starving in Africa while a vulture circles. It's like a vulture that's about to eat a child that's like starving to death in somewhere in Africa.
Okay.
So the ethics of photojournalism is that you don't interfere with what you're. I still can't see it. Am I stupid?
Well,
The ethics of photojournalism is that you don't interfere, right?
okay.
And in nature documentaries, it's the same. You don't interfere with nature, you don't interfere with what you're photographing. So this dude took this photo, and obviously he didn't interfere because that's what you're supposed to do. And he took this photo, he received massive criticism for photographing what is really a horrible situation, and he eventually killed himself. That's the one story. Um, and then, and what are they called? Natural Geographic.
Yeah, Mr. Deagle has a question for you.
Oh, Mr. Deagle, will you? I'm going to post it on the Everyday Ethics Patreon. I haven't had a chance yet, but I'm going to post it on the Everyday Ethics Patreon. I have no way to contact you because the only thing I know is your name. Um,
But tell him what it is.
oh, it's all of the information about
Yeah,
Kant.
it's my debates with various AIs concerning your question about Immanuel Kant and Ayn Rand. I spent a considerable amount of time arguing with these things, so I hope it's appreciated.
Yes, I got like eight or nine messages. Anyway, so then there was a Natural Geographic team in Antarctica filming penguins, and the penguins got stuck in like a canyon, like a thing, and they couldn't get out. And these documentary guys were basically watching like the young chicks freeze, and they were really stressed because they were like, these penguins are gonna fucking die. But it's you're not supposed to interfere. You're supposed to just film and let nature run its course. And they were doing this. They also can't like interact with the penguins, because you don't interfere. And eventually they decided that like they genuinely could not in good conscience allow this to happen. So what they did is they went onto the opposite side of where the penguins were all huddling trying to climb up this wall, and they built like a little ramp and a little staircase, but it was far enough that the penguins like didn't really see them. And then they just had to sit there and hope that the penguins were going to find this ramp up. Because again, there was like 60 odd penguins and chicks and stuff, and some of them were like already freezing to death. So they just had to sit there and hope that these penguins would see the ramp. And they did. And the penguins all survived. That's my two stories.
About
Sorry.
photojournalism? Do you have a special interest in photojournalism?
Uh, I'm. I studied photography. That was what I went to college for. So
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
so I'm a qualified photographer. So part of my degree was ethics in
Oh,
photojournalism. That's one of the modules that we had to do is ethics. So yes, I do have a special interest in photojournalism. It's crap. I don't like it. Um, I can't find this on Twitter. I feel stupid, but I can't.
can you just go to my X page?
That's what I did, and I still
Well,
can't
I'm
find
seeing
it.
it. It's definitely there. I can see it right here.
So James says legally in commercial transactions, failure to disclose is intertwined with the issues of warranty and insurance, the waiver of liability, something that should be negotiable even for little.
If you can't find it, you can't find it. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Well, I'm looking. Mr. Deagle says that seems like intrinsic don't interfere in any situation, which is pretty stupid.
I don't
I
know because I don't know the reasons for it.
You don't know the reasons why you're not supposed to interfere
Well, I mean,
in photojournalism?
generally speaking, I understand because if you start interfering, you're changing that which you're
Reporting on.
reporting. Yeah, and now you're. It's like quantum physics, almost. You know what I mean? It's a similar thing. Like you're interacting with the very thing, and you're fucking it up. And there's people who might say, "Well, it's mean that you don't go there and help." The problem is if you don't have photojournalists to take pictures of this stuff, then other people, the world doesn't find out about these problems. So you want people that are going to be doing it. And you also don't know if your interference, how, like, I don't know what happens. I go to interfere. I'm over there. I don't know the culture. I don't know, you could be putting yourself in all kinds of messy stuff. I mean, that's just I don't know the full ethical theory, but that's just a few concerns that I would have off the top of my
I'm
head.
I mean, yes, basically that is you're supposed to report on things as they are and not interfere because then you're not reporting on things as they are. It's terrible because photojournalists do have to deal with really horrible situations. If anybody's ever watched Generation Kill, a journalist embedded with the first recon Marines in either Iraq or Afghanistan, I don't remember. And he had to report on the war, and the things that he reported on were not great. Can I show this photo? It's kind of horrible, but I want to show it so everybody knows what I'm talking about.
No, I don't want to see. Okay, go ahead. Oh, this is going to make me sick.
So that's the photo that he took, and people were really upset that he didn't help. Oh,
Okay.
this was in Johannesburg. Jesus
Okay.
Christ. Okay.
All right. So my question is now, okay, what could he do to help? I mean, ultimately, what are you going to give? I mean, Sam Kinison, of course, made the joke, what, you can't give this kid a sandwich. But if I'm a photojournalist, I'm not going to adopt that kid, right? So how much help can I actually give? Let's say I give this kid a huge meal. Okay, then what? I mean, how much help can you actually do in that situation? And I don't know.
Um, yeah, Mr. Deagle says, I think the photo is a bit misleading because the bird was not as close and the mother was somewhere around there. I mean, Yeah, but also it's the story behind the photo
Yeah,
because it
I
was
really don't care about how close the bird is. You're looking at a human skeleton. That kid is obviously starving to death. That's the issue.
yeah, so the child was reported to be attempting to reach a United Nations feeding center half a mile away from her village. But she did survive, and this photographer won the Pulitzer Prize and then killed himself 4 months later.
Okay.
Anyway, that's
I
horrible.
I have one long hair in my eyebrow I'm trying to get out. It won't come out. That's aggravating me. The OCD is kicking in.
No, leave your eyebrows alone. Okay, here's one.
Got it.
You hold an unpopular but well-reasoned view. Expressing it will likely lead to social ostracism, job loss, or reputational destruction.
What do you think I would do?
I have no idea. I personally think that you would just go along with what everybody else says.
Oh, look at this. Bestviewersteamboo.com. What's that about?
That's spam on Twitch.
That's somebody spamming us?
Yeah.
You spam fucker.
Um. Oh, here's something. You're an artist or thinker pressured to alter your work to gain success and financial stability.
Uh,
What an interesting one.
yeah. It's gonna depend, right? Like I'm, if I, if like, okay, say I'm writing a book, and somebody gives me suggestions. It's gonna depend if I think that suggestions are actually good. If they comport with my interest. Uh, I'm not going to put out garbage. I mean, people have told me that as a podcaster, maybe if you would just do this or that, and I'm not. I'm not catering to stupidity. I'm not trying to build a cult. I'm not doing any of that shit.
Mm. See, the thing is, yes, if you're altering your work in a way that still is authentic, then yeah, it makes sense. But
Yeah.
I don't think that's the essence of the question that they're asking. They're saying if they tell you that you need to if you're like a metal band and they tell you that in order to be successful, you need to start producing pop music. Like that's the kind of thing that I think that they're
Ah.
talking about.
So I can't even get rid of this guy. They don't even give me the thing where I can click him off like I can do everybody else. Okay. All right. What do you got? What's next?
So you must choose between hiring a more qualified stranger or a less qualified friend that you care about for a job.
I'm hiring the person that's qualified. Why am I hiring a friend that? Now, I mean, is the friend capable?
Well, they say less qualified, not unqualified. So I guess they
I mean, if
are.
it's marginal, then I'd probably hire the friend. But if it's significant, no, I'm hiring the person that's going to make me the most money. The friend can rotate.
So see, this is what I mean when I say like the questions, the ethical dilemmas, they sound interesting on the surface, but then with even the most cursory thought, they have pretty obvious answers,
Well,
right?
here's what you got to do. I'm going to teach you a little something. You ask me the reasoning behind it. How do you arrive at that conclusion? Because that puts us both in the show. It allows you to ask questions. It allows me to elaborate. I mean, otherwise, I mean, I could just elaborate on my own, but that's not going to be very interesting.
Okay. I want to ask the audience something though. Audience, when you heard some of these dilemmas, did you have an initial reaction that was like, "Oh, the answer to this is obvious." And if you did, was your obvious answer the same as what Michael gave?
It doesn't matter
I don't
because
care. I just want to know
but okay,
for
but
my
I'm
own
going to give you my
interest.
reasoning right now why it doesn't matter because it's like doing the work in a math problem. How you
Yeah.
get to the answer matters. And if you want to learn to think ethically, to reason through ethical situations, the way you get there matters. Somebody that's within, say, an objectivist framework can see something. Oh, that's not in my interest. I'm not doing that. Okay, why isn't it in your interest? Well, how might it be in your interest? Is it in your interest? Like, okay, you just gave me a scenario where there's a friend that's is not as good as somebody else. Okay, how big is the difference? But there's other things that might be taken into consideration. Maybe I will never hire a friend because I understand that mixing business with friendship can be problematic. Am I weighing that? Am I considering that? Am I going to be able to interact and work with this other person who may be high quality but a total dick? What if the person's a thief? Skill isn't the only thing that matters. Reputation matters. Character matters. So is my friend somebody of high character that I could actually absolutely count on? And I know that, and there's no question about it. Whereas this other person I know is highly skillful, but I don't know anything about his character. Is he going to take my business secrets and tell somebody else? Does he hot-headed? Is he going to storm off the job? There's a lot of different factors that you need to take into consideration. When you say a principle like, what's in my best interest? Okay, how do you know this is in your best interest? What's the reasoning process to determine it? That's what we're aiming for.
Okay.
She finds me so hot right now.
So hot. So hot.
Uh,
Um, you know what I was thinking about before this episode?
You were thinking Mr. Deagle finds me hot.
Probably.
All
For
right.
all we know, Mr. Deagle's a woman.
We have no idea.
We have no idea. You know what I was thinking? Well, what I was thinking about earlier is that yesterday on Crime Corrections and Culture, we were talking about Brent and the fact that he's never getting out of prison.
Well, he might get out someday. We don't know he's
Well,
never, but it's not looking good.
never say never, but
Yeah.
I can't remember who said something along this line, but it was one of the comments in the chat was like, well, what even is the point at that point of being a good person if you've done all of the work? And the reason I was thinking about this is because when I was looking online for like moral dilemmas, this is something that I come across a lot, right? Is people basically asking, well, why should I be a good person? Because there's no benefit for me.
Well, there
And
the
in
pro.
in
Go
in
ahead. I'm
in
sorry.
his situation, on the outside to like a random person, it it might seem like to him there is no benefit to being a good person. Obviously there is. The benefit is just not he's going to get out of prison tomorrow, or
What are some of the other benefits? Let's see. Let's have you list them out.
well, I mean, hmm. Sorry, he still needs to live his life, and being a good person generates the best life possible given the circumstances. He has to live with himself. He has to feel good about his own choices.
Could kill himself.
That's true. He could.
So why not?
Because I'm sure that there are, even though he is in prison, I'm sure that there are things about his life that he enjoys and doesn't want to lose out on.
Okay, how does being ethical help that? For instance, if he were to live Brent's an artist. If he were to live unethically, he could get all kinds of stolen shit in that would help him with his art. Why not do that?
Well, I don't know him, but for me, if I know what the right thing is, and then I know that I'm going against the right thing, I'm not going to feel very good about myself. I guess if I could change fundamentally the way that I think about things, then I would be okay with being unethical and stealing. So I guess if he could alter the way that he thinks and become a shit person, then he probably would be okay with that. But given that he knows what the right thing is, he probably wouldn't be happy with himself.
Okay. So, because of the type of person that Brent is, he has me as his friend, and I do anything that I can for him. When he needs something done, I take care of it. He can call me. I talk to him. I can relate to him. He listens to me. I listen to him. He has other people in his life that are friendly because of the type of person that he is. He has a relationship with his son and daughter because of the type of person he is. So, just in terms of other quality relationships that he still has, he would lose that if he didn't have that integrity. Because of his integrity, he's able to live with himself. He understands that who he is. He also knows that should he get out of prison, the type of character he has is going to matter tremendously. He also has an obligation, he feels, to people who have spoken up for him in regard to his character. You don't want to be screwing people over. So, I mean, just in terms of that, never mind the fact that, yes, there's other things he can enjoy. He can enjoy music. He can enjoy a television show. He can enjoy the artwork that he does. So even though the reward isn't getting out of prison, there still are rewards for living ethically. Now, I'm the one that said it. It wasn't in it wasn't in the chat. It was me.
Oh, it was you.
Yeah, and my question was more of a hypothetical that if you're running a prison system and you're sending the message to people that no matter what you do, it doesn't matter, that's not a good message to send people. Because other inmates, for instance, know the type of character Brent has. They know how hard he's worked to get where he is. So if you're an inmate and you see that and you're like, well, this guy's not getting rewarded, what the fuck is the point of me doing it? Right? And those people are not yet where I am, where I'm saying, okay, well, you have to consider this, and this. They're looking at it because they're not yet reformed. Like, okay, there's no point in that. All right, last comment of the day. We got two of them. Robert Naser, you've got to reach a point in your life in which you've given up on morality, in which you can look in the mirror and say, I'm the bad guy. I choose to be the enemy of any good and decent person. The metaphysics of life in prison is a challenge. Making character matter there is a very different project. Yes, it is, but yes, it does. Okay, thank you so much, Robert. Thank you, everybody. Do you have any other questions you want to ask me before I bail on you?
No, but I do want to
No.
remind. Here's a question. Is there an R when I say no?
No. Somebody said that in a comment. That person was an idiot.
So I do want to remind everybody that if you want to hear more about crime, corrections, and culture, to tune in tomorrow.
I pinched my finger. I was swiveling and I pinched my finger to the desk. All right. 3:15 tomorrow, 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time, Crime, Corrections, and Culture. We'll also be back here tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, the Capitalist Corner tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you joining us. Have a great night. See you tomorrow. And until then, be ethical.
Bye.